I got everything I could have possibly ever wanted. Let's bitch about it. So I'm gonna be perfectly honest. When I was younger, ever since I was a little kid, I've been a little Wikipedia gremlin. I love scouring Wikipedia and just going through all kinds of pages. Like if you look through just like my Wikipedia search history, it's insane. It goes from like a Goofy movie to like World War I. I kind of find whenever I'm like playing a game or watching a movie or watching a TV show for the first time, I always find myself just scouring this website, looking at all kinds of stuff, looking at all kinds of facts, production history, all this kind of nonsense. And whenever I was a kid, I would kind of dream about like making my own like TV show or movie or video game, whatever, anything that's like media related. And I always thought it would be pretty badass if I got my own Wikipedia page. And I remember making some of my own Wikipedia pages back in the day. I used to make my own magazine when I was a youngin', called Wozniak News Magazine, and I would run my own website called wozniaknews.com and all this stuff, and I made shows and comics and books and all this junk. And I remember making like cover art for fake video games based on my brand Wozniak News, and I tried to make Wikipedia pages for those fake video games on by myself, and they would always get taken down. It's unfortunate. And I remember seeing like the community notes about it being like, this is just some bullshit made up by some kid, just delete it. But I always thought, man, like I want to work towards something to the point where I get my own Wikipedia page someday. I did it. Thank you to everybody for making this possible. This is genuinely like such a surreal thing that like I've always wanted. Ever since I was like a little kid, the fact that like something I made, or me myself, like I have a Wikipedia page, it's really, really cool. And it's really surreal. It's kind of hard to really convey like how much this is cool and how much it means to me, especially because I kind of want to go through it and just kind of comment on everything here and just say like how much something is true, or like if something doesn't really make much sense to me. But I think it's fun, and also like it's just a really cool thing that like, hey, the Scott the Woz Wikipedia page, we finally made it here. And let's, like I said, let's start bitching. Thank you so much. Let's bitch. So first up, it's a little strange that they're very adamant that like Scott the Woz, the T is always lowercase, and I don't fault anybody for doing that, but the official spelling is always with the T as an uppercase. Of course, it's not like super correct, but I've seen like official spellings of like Sonic the Hedgehog with the T capitalized, but they're very adamant here to just make it's Scott the Woz with the all lowercase, but they have to specify at the beginning, it's Scott the Woz, stylized in start case. So why is that? Why is the T always capitalized? It's mainly because Scott the Woz doubles as my username as well. So when you combine everything together, because most usernames don't involve spaces, it looks a little weird. If you combine everything all in one with no spaces, then you have like 3 T's in a row. So I capitalized the just kind of to signify, this is the end of Scott and this is the beginning of the. But I just kind of find it strange that the Wikipedia article says it's stylized in start case, but refuses to put it in start case throughout the rest of the thing. I kind of feel like in other Wikipedia articles, if a show's name or a thing's name is spelled in a certain way, they will respect that throughout the entire article. Here, what am I saying? I'm saying respect it. Like I'm like, wow, they don't give a fuck about me. But yeah, I feel like I'd usually see the spelling, the correct spelling of the name throughout the rest of the article. But no, they're like, screw you, Scott. It's spelled like this. Well, I'm like, okay. Scott the Woz is a gaming comedy review web series created by American YouTuber Scott Wozniak. That's pretty true. The series starring Wozniak covers video games and gaming history. Episodes are written and directed by Wozniak, with recurring characters played by his friends. Compilations of episodes were syndicated of the 2021 and 2022 revival of the TV network G4. All of that is pretty damn on the money. And I feel like the fact that Scott the Woz was on TV, on G4, pretty much completely solidified this Wikipedia article existing. I feel like if it wasn't for that, like the Wikipedia article probably wouldn't exist, but the fact that it was like even slightly a TV show, I mean, it was a TV show, but like, you know, whatever, pretty much solidified this Wikipedia article existing. So yeah, the fact that it was on G4 is pretty cool, but I feel like I should clear up some misconceptions here, because I've seen a lot of people comment about how around the time that, you know, the episodes were airing on G4, that's when I kind of started to slow down a lot. That's when I took like a 6-month hiatus on the main series, and I saw people say like, well, I must be busy working on the G4 revival. I didn't do like a damn thing. I suggested a giant list of episodes that I thought would make for competent television episodes. I directed and commissioned the opening sequence of the show. You know, I worked with Garrett Williamson and Emily Wolver to create like the opening title sequence for Scott the Woz on G4, because I kind of felt like if I didn't do that, they wouldn't do it ever. Like they would probably do like a very basic title sequence that who the hell cares. I remember seeing the show on like these television streaming services. The icon for Scott the Woz was like this super generic clip art of a video game controller, and it just said Scott the Woz, and that was it. And I think I told them like, here's the damn logo, guys. Here, use this logo. I think it got updated at some point to just be like the actual Scott the Woz logo. But yeah, that just kind of shows like, I feel like if I didn't go out of my way to do the title sequence, it wouldn't have been very interesting. And I love that title sequence. I'm still very proud of that title sequence and the work that Garrett and Emily did on it. You know, I created like the animatic for it. I was like, okay, this is how it should go. But yeah, Garrett and Emily like just absolutely hit that out of the park. But yeah, with the G4 thing, G4 reached out to me around like 2020 when they were planning for their big revival, and they reached out to me looking for hosts for G4. And I don't think I work well as a host for like a generic thing. I think my sense of humor and like my cadence and everything like that is very specific. And if I'm reading somebody else's words, or I'm just supposed to be like a presenter of something, I don't think I work well in that context. I think I need to be like my very own thing. I think I need to do something that I wrote, or at least something that I signed off on, rather than go up in front of a group of people and start talking about random gaming things. I don't think that's me. I think I work well when like I'm writing my own stuff, and you know, like my sense of humor. Like I feel like the appeal of me doesn't work well outside of like stuff I do. If you just take me and put me in a random thing, I think people are gonna be like, who the fuck is this guy? I don't really feel like I have like a lot of that host energy. Even when like I worked with like YouTube directly on like this big like celebration of like Mario content throughout the history of the website, that was like a huge cool moment. At the same time, I'm not sure how much of like a voiceover host I am. Like I did the voiceover of it, and that was awesome. That was such a cool thing, and I would do it again in a heartbeat. At the same time, I think I'm a weird pick for stuff like that. So I kind of did like the interview with G4 kind of just for shits and giggles, honestly. I wasn't really like seriously thinking anything of it. I felt like I kind of answered all their questions wrong, where they were asking me kind of generic like nerd pop culture questions, and I don't give a damn about a lot of stuff. Like they're like, Marvel or DC? I'm like, neither. I don't care about neither. They were like, which Star Wars character are you? And I'm like, I've never seen a Star Wars. I've seen them since. They're pretty fun movies. But at the time, I was like answering everything wrong. I feel I just like told them like how I was, and like you know, like with being honest with like who I am, what kind of person I am, my sense of humor and all that. And surprisingly, I made it to round 2 of interviews. So on round 2 of interviews, I told them straight up, I'm like, hey guys, I don't really think I'm the host type, but if you want to work together in other ways, I think it would be pretty awesome for my content to be syndicated on TV. I think that would be amazing. And that's how that worked. They told me like they were looking to do stuff with like other YouTubers as well, like syndicate their content for TV. So that's how that all kind of came through. It wasn't really like any kind of strategy on their part. And I think they got like a lot of cool social media buzz for that, which was really cool to see on my end. The fact that people were very excited about the fact that Scott the Woz was on TV. So thank you very much for that. That was really, really, really cool to see that people were like really excited about that, even if it was just like reruns. But people were so excited that they did very much pitch me a season 2. They wanted to order like a season 2 of the syndications, which was cool. They didn't offer like a crazy amount of money for the first one. It was more than enough for this. I was like, that is a good chunk of change for not a ton of effort on my end, other than like I spent a lot of money on commissioning the intro, so it wasn't like it was like a crazy amount. But I mean they were willing to offer like a similar amount for that. Wasn't like wow, like this is a life-changing amount of money. It was like that's a good amount of money for just me not even having to do much, you know. But before I had a chance to accept the offer, G4 died. So that was the end of that. I wasn't technically canceled. I was almost renewed. So that's at least kind of an ego boost there. But that was that with G4. It's honestly kind of crazy to look back and be like, oh yeah, that did happen, didn't it? But yeah, I kind of just did that because I saw the opportunity and I was kind of like, this is a really cool little bucket list item to cross off. And the G4 people were all very nice to me. I was very, very happy working with them. But I only talked to like a couple people through email about this whole thing. Maybe a couple like Zoom meetings. Other than that, I was gonna get flown out to film stuff with them like a month before they shut down, and the flights were so horrible, like it just kept getting delayed, and I sent him a text. I was just like, I can't keep waiting around for this stuff. I'm going back home. Like I was already kind of stressed out wanting to get like episodes of Scott the Woz done. This was like when I was making like the GameCube episode in like 2022, and I was just kind of like, I gotta go home. I can't wait around at this airport all day to like fly out and film a bunch of stuff and then fly immediately back. It's not really worth it. And 1 month later, it was all for naught. So let's move on. Premise: Scott the Woz is a video game review web series with a focus on discussion and retrospective of video game topics such as consoles, accessories, history, and subculture. What does subculture mean here? Video game culture, gaming culture, okay, well, that makes sense. The series has an emphasis on skit-based humor with a set of recurring characters, and episodes occasionally deviate from the series' focus on video games. Yeah, that's pretty right on the money. I've always hated the word skits, but like, yeah, that's the best way to describe it. I've definitely tried to like lean back a little bit in recent years because I kind of felt like the way things were going was going a little too skit heavy, especially around like the end of 2020 into 2021. Because like I was really happy doing like the Dark Age of Nintendo stuff and the Mario Party episode, and I got like really happy responses from those, and I think I started to kind of force it a little more as time went on rather than do it like when I felt like it made a lot of sense. And I've been doing it more when I'm like, okay, it makes sense to do this. That's when it's just like, okay, when I did have a bootleg gaming Christmas or candy games, I'm like, okay, like doing skits or like intermissions between like the core video game review stuff with like, you know, the extra characters and the story-based stuff. That's when this feels right. It makes sense. I felt like things were feeling a little more forced, and I kind of felt like, oh, I have to include all of the characters, or I got to do like this skit-based thing where everybody's like talking in a certain way because like that's what people expect. And I definitely kind of wanted to move a little more towards like evolving things rather than just doing what was expected, because I ended up kind of just repeating the same format as, like, let's say Dark Age of Nintendo or like Great Mysteries of Gaming or something like that. So yeah, I don't like the word skip, but you know, that's fair. And I've definitely tried to, like, I think things went a little too crazy from like 2020 to 2021. I've tried to rein that back in a little bit while still like appreciating the fact that, like, hey, like, we do have all these characters and it's really fun to, you know, do more than just the bare minimum game review thing. I think people are a little afraid to have like fun with like video game videos sometimes, and you know, I kind of want to be like, you know what, it's fun to dick around, you know, like it's fun to get together with your friends and just make something, rather than just be like, I'm gonna make a serious video game analysis. Like, those are all over the place. Like, you know, hey, it's great to do that stuff, but I think it's also fun to just, you know, just have fun. It's fun to have fun. Wow. And yeah, episodes occasionally deviate from the series' focus on video games. That does happen. This is all pretty fair. This is all pretty right on the money. I can look at this side of things, this little wacky little section right here. Key art for the series, that's the Monopoly board art, and we repurposed that as a poster during a merchandise for charity event. And I've always liked this art. You know, I think it encompasses a lot of the series. You know, you have me and then all the other guys, all the other characters around with the desk there. You know, we reference It's Awesome Baby and Borderline Forever by like throwing Madden 08 there. So that's all good. Key art for the series is a little, you know, I'm kind of like, you know, maybe. It is like a very like all-encompassing poster for the series, but you know, it is the Monopoly board art there, so you know, that's something. The genre is gaming review, surreal comedy, and editorial. Sure. Surreal comedy, sure. I think a lot of it is kind of dry, sarcastic, a lot of wordplay. I don't think it's just surreal comedy. I think surreal comedy makes it imply that like random shit happens at random moments, and that's what's funny. And that's not really the entire comedy of Scott the Woz. Like, yeah, sure, that happens, but like, I don't really think it's like, oh, it's all about surreal comedy. It's all about just random bullshit, which, you know, that's not all about surreal comedy. I think, obviously, like the way characters talk, the way I talk, a lot of time it's always kind of like playing on the fact that like, let's have some strange cadences, let's have some strange logic here. The entire world of like some of the episodes is all about like, let's just have like kind of like a weird thing go on. The fact that like death is pretty much like just kind of treated as like, oh man, I got hives instead of like I got shot in the fucking face. So yeah, you know, I understand surreal comedy being there, but like I wouldn't consider that to be like the only comedy type in Scott the Woz. Created by Scott Wozniak. That's me. Starring Scott Wozniak, Sam Essig, Eric Turney, Dominic Matero, Justin Womble. There's also Joe and Jared. Joe's always like at the start of the starring in the credits because I usually rank people in the credits based on like their appearance in the series first. So like Joe was like one of the first major like extra people to appear in the show. I think Will was technically the first. He technically appeared in like micro consoles. But it usually goes like I usually go like it's Scott, then Joe, then Sam. Even though Joe hasn't been as like as main of a character as like Sam and Eric, and even Justin. But you know, they're missing some people there. It's nothing crazy, but they are missing people. End theme is Breakin'. Season 6 present, sure. So yeah, I don't think I've ever publicly even talked about why the end theme changed in season 6, but yeah, I wanted to see if I could buy the rights or license the original end theme, because I did not ever own the original end theme. That is the song Breakout from 3D Dot Game Heroes, and I wanted to see if there was any potential that I could license it so then I could officially use it, instead of just rolling the dice every time I used it. Of course, like, who cares? It's like, are they really gonna like copyright strike all my videos? Probably not, but it's like, it got to the point that like by the time season 6 aired, I talked around a lot. I sent a lot of emails out. I talked to like people that could potentially get that done, and a lot of these people said instead of just trying to license that theme, I think it would probably be best, instead of poking the bear, to just make a new theme. I remember emailing the original Japanese developers / like the owners of the IP for 3D Game Heroes, and I got like a Google translated email back that's saying like, no thank you, we're not interested in doing that. And I know it's unfortunate because Breakout was such a big element of the series. At the same time though, as great as it was using that as like a leitmotif during big moments in the series, I loved that, and I thought that song worked really well. It wasn't my song, and I understand like people saying stuff like, oh man, I miss Breakout so much. At the same time, it's almost like if I use like the fucking Mario theme as my end theme, and people were like, damn, I miss when you used the Mario theme. I'm just like, it's not my theme. So it's like, I'm like, I don't know. So like, I worked with Garrett to come up with like a new end theme. The original idea I kind of had was like, let's take the theme made for the G4 intro sequence and just kind of make that sound a little more like Breakout, and work a little better with like when the blue screen comes down of a Scott the Woz episode, and just kind of work with that. And Garrett gave me like a couple of different styles, different like melodies, different themes, and I paid for them all. Like I still have like a lot of these like different themes that he did, because I said like eventually I might like to use these for like other projects of mine, but for the time being, I think what makes the most sense, what fit the best, was a version of the G4 theme that we used. And some people I saw commented that it was like, oh, well, Scott wants synergy between the G4 show and the YouTube videos. No, I didn't really care about that. I mostly just wanted to take this a little more seriously, and instead of just constantly falling back on a theme that wasn't mine and having every episode end with like a 15-second raw, unaltered version of a theme I didn't own, I wanted everything to end on like a theme that was mine. That was kind of important to me, and it really felt good to be like, this is the Scott the Woz theme. I don't have to keep pretending like this theme that isn't mine is the Scott the Woz theme. And I don't mind like using that song in like the background, or still like commissioning stuff. Like I specifically asked Chipper, who does a lot of like the orchestrated background music for Scott the Woz. In Merry Christmas Data Design, there's like a very wholesome Christmas rendition of Break-In, but I asked him like, I think it'd be cool if you transition that into Breakout from 3D Game Heroes. And the way I wanted it to transition into the new end credits theme was like with the Donkey Kong Barrel Blast episode having like this big montage music where it starts with Breakout and then it goes into Break-In. And yes, I wanted it to be Break-In because I was like, let's be cheeky. The original end theme was Breakout. Either way, this doesn't really matter because this Wikipedia article is completely truthful so far, and I'm just rambling about random garbage that I've done in the past. So let's move on. Composers: Nicholas Carr and Garrett Williamson. I've worked with other music artists too. Garrett has consistently worked with me since 2019. I've worked with Nick a lot, and he's always done like amazing orchestrated work. I've worked with Chipper, who has done a lot of orchestrated work for me in recent years. And then there's other composers I've worked with, Charlie Rosen of the 8-Bit Big Band, T. Lopes in Hyper Potions, Alan Riddick. There's a lot of people that have composed for the show in the past, and hopefully more in the future, because I love working with new people. But that's fair for Nick and Garrett to be like on the main composers list. But there's a lot of other people you can throw in there. At the moment I'm recording this, it's 7 seasons and 261 episodes. That's about right. Running time 3 to 144 minutes. God damn, Scott. You're just all over the place, aren't you? Network, YouTube, 2017, G4 2021 to 2022. And it started on January 7th, 2017. So that is all very true. Side note, I look fucking disgusting right here. I always feel like a lot of the images of me, like my glasses look crooked and one of my eyes looks randomly bigger than the other. I look a little insane. It in a lot of these images, or I look a little disheveled. I always see comments when I haven't slept much working on episodes. People say like, damn, Sky, you look tired as hell. And sometimes I get a lot of great sleep and people still say like, damn, Sky, you look tired as hell. And I'm like, well, I can't do anything about this. History, background. Wozniak had made videos on YouTube as a child based on his own creations such as short stories, comics, and drawings. Yeah, so the first YouTube channel I had was probably in like 2008. I claimed like a YouTube channel called Wozniak News, and then I deleted it out of fear that my parents would find it because you shouldn't have a YouTube channel when you're that young. I don't think they even knew that. I don't think, they knew that you had to be at least 13 to have a YouTube channel. So I panicked and deleted it. So I started like another YouTube channel called Wozniak News YT for YouTube. And then I stopped using that because I wanted to just take it a little more seriously. So I did Wozniak News TV. And then eventually I kind of felt like it was a little fruitless to be constantly using like the Wozniak News brand, which was, again, like what this Wikipedia article is saying, like was based on short stories, comics, and drawings that I did. I felt like nobody outside of like my group of friends or schoolmates or anything understood what Wozniak News was. So I was just kind of like, okay. In 2012, I started a YouTube channel called Scott the Woz, which is initially ceasing to make videos in 2012 due to low viewership. Oh, wait, no. Initially ceasing to make videos in 2012. I made videos well into that era. I was still making videos. I probably stopped around 2014, 2015. I made videos in 2013 for sure. I didn't really make a lot of videos in 2014, 2015. I kind of only made videos when I had to via school projects, and I made the most out of those days. I ceased Wozniak News in 2012. I started the Scott the Woz YouTube channel in late 2012, and I went into 2013 trying to make like skit-based videos that were a little more made with a general audience in mind. A lot of the stuff I made prior to 2012, I felt like the only people that would get anything out of that were like people that knew me in person. So I tried to make things work a little more in 2012, 2013, but I kind of stopped trying around 2014, 2015. Wozniak returned to content creation in his senior year of high school to make a comedic video titled The Internet and You with his friends. Yes, that was meant to be kind of the final hurrah. I just didn't really think I was gonna make many videos after that. I just kind of wanted to make one final thing. And yeah, that kind of got me back into the swing of things. That's what got me to want to do like the vape shop vlog, the Alphanor JavaScript frat video, and then eventually like a month or so later, that's when I started Scott the Woz. I was like, I want to make weekly video game videos. So yeah, that's all roughly true. The year here, based on this sentence, I think is a little off, but I don't blame him for thinking that. After experimenting with other skit ideas, Wozniak worked on the first episode of Scott the Woz in December 2016. Yeah, so that started, I started working on that in December 2016. That was all based on the Nintendo Switch coming out. I originally planned on doing the history of Smash Brothers Rumors and Leaks as the first episode, and I really wish I did that, because the first two episodes of Scott the Woz are pretty skippable. Those are completely outdated nonsense. So I'm just like, come on, bro, what are you doing? Focused on his opinions of the Nintendo Switch, the video fused his interest in video games with a skit-based comedy. Sure, there was a skit in that one. It was a very outdated. Everything about that episode is outdated. Where that was around the time of the 2016 election, where I made some reference to the fact that oh, this is some video of me from way back in the day. And I mentioned that I was like, wow, there's no way Donald Trump will ever be president. I probably would not make that joke today. I don't really care to make political jokes, even though that's a very, the entire joke of that is just wow, this fucking guy, this fucking guy's president? Really? Because that was around the time of like all that happening. But that was kind of like the only major skit in that episode. So like I think like it kind of took like a couple episodes for things to really like kind of get into the funk of things, you know, firmly become like the Scott the Woz that is like what we get nowadays. But yeah, the first episode of the web series was uploaded on YouTube in January 2017. The series maintained a consistent schedule of weekly videos until May 2022, when Wozniak announced that the series would run without schedule. So I don't think I fully announced that in May 2022. I think I might have said that in like December of 2021 that like I don't think I'm gonna be doing weekly videos anymore. So yeah, as much as I would love to keep doing weekly episodes of Scott the Woz, and I understand that like a lot of people really valued that about the series, like I'm only human, and I had all the time in the world to do that back then, but by the time it got to like 2021, I was really burning myself out trying to get like these episodes out every single week, and even then I was kind of failing to do that. Like I was delaying stuff, and yeah, I felt really burnt out, and at this point I really desperately want to get to that point again, but at the same time I don't think it makes sense. That's why I kind of started introducing more stuff on Scott Stash, because you know this is easier for me to do, but it's also still like fun and exciting, and it is something that I like doing. And I kind of feel like if I just focused everything on regular Scott the Woz, I feel like I would kind of go insane. Not because I don't love doing it, but because like when I'm trying to stick to a formula and just write and try to make things fresh and keep things interesting, and that's all I'm ever doing. That is all I'm ever doing. I would literally go insane. So Scott Stash kind of helps me have some fun while working on episodes at my own pace and making them something that I'm really, really proud of. Like, I'm proud of every episode I put out in Season 7. Season 6, I was happy with the episodes, but, like, I felt like they were all a little too, like, by the numbers, generic Scott the Woz stuff. Whereas with Season 7, I've been very proud with, like, the output, even if it has been, like, small. It is at least something where I can look back at every episode and I can think, yeah, I really like that one. That came out really well, and I'm really proud of that. So, yeah, that's just kind of where I'm at, where I'm always trying to, like, up the quantity, but I want to keep the quality to a point where I'm like, I'm very happy with this. And, you know, I think I still need to work on that balance, but I also want to balance that with Scott Stash and other projects. And, yeah, I think when it gets to the point where it's just like, yeah, it's at 261 episodes, if I was keeping doing this every single week, I'd be repeating myself constantly. And I still do repeat myself a lot with Scott the Woz. I would be just a melted stick of butter of a man just sitting here trying to script another way to say, hey, all Scott here at the beginning. Wozniak maintains a secondary channel, Scott Stash, for behind the scenes and extra content. So that was true originally. I feel like Scott Stash has definitely evolved to be very much its own thing. That is still like, it is kind of like, it's like Scott the Woz bonus content, but it can usually be enjoyed on its own. So yeah, that's more fair to call Scott Stash that, like, back in like 2021 or 2022. At this point, though, it's definitely more like Scott Stash is the unscripted channel. Like, that's the best way to describe it. There's still behind the scenes stuff. There's still bloopers. There's still all this kind of stuff. But at this point, it's definitely more of its own thing. Scott the Woz was broadcast on the 2021 revival of TV network G4. 10 episodes consisting of 1-hour compilations of YouTube episodes premiered from December 7th, 2021 to February 8th, 2022. Yeah, that's true. I don't know the exact dates. To be fair, I don't know if February 8th is exactly when it ended. But yeah, they do have the the episode count here. I've seen this Wikipedia page a couple times. I think they've fluctuated between like just showing the television episodes and also having the entire list of YouTube episodes, which is a lot. It's 261. Yeah, right here I'm already seeing like a problem. I don't think season 6 ended on January 31st. I think it ended on like January 8th or something around then, Like Merry Christmas Data Design ended season 6, and that was like on like January 8th or something. I don't know where January 31st is coming from there. But yeah, it's a little unfortunate that, you know, I was on a very good streak of like 50 episodes every year, and each season was like that specific year, all the episodes in that year. I definitely, you know, tweaked that for season 6 to end later because there was no way I was going to be able to finish Merry Christmas Data Design in time. But I definitely let season 7 extend from 2023 to 2024, mainly because like I'm kind of like, you know, I've only done this in this one specific way. It's cool to be consistent, but it's also like, how do I know if it's just like, I'm going to like this if I just don't try something new, if I don't make this season last from 2023 to 2024 instead of, oh, these are the 2023 episodes only. I definitely fudged that idea for, you know, season 6, because, you know, that extended into 2023. But season 7, I was like, okay, that started in June, and then, you know, at this point, I don't know when it's going to end. I assume it's probably going to end in the summer of 2023. But yeah, I will definitely say something I am still very fickle about is the episode number ending on like a nice solid 0 or 5 or something like that. I like that. Again, crusty ass image. Jesus Christ, man. The television episodes, yeah, you know, I mean, like, they kind of just picked these at random. I always wanted these episodes to be kind of like picked at random because I wanted it to feel like how compilations of old cartoons on like Cartoon Network or Boomerang or whatever felt like, where it's just a random assortment of stuff. And I think that kind of just flowed with like how Scott the Woz episodes are like completely different from like one episode to another in terms of topic. So I think that just kind of fit pretty well. Of course, like I would have loved like a season 2, because that would have been cool to put like Borderline Forever on TV and like the Dark Age of Nintendo, just because like those were such large parts of like the opening title sequence, and just such a large part of like the series like branding, and just like so many references of the series come from like those things. But you know what? I'm pretty happy with this amount. I think these episodes are pretty damn Scott the Woz. You get the Great Mysteries of Gaming in there. That's pretty fun. How many season 1 episodes are there? So there's Lost in Localization. That's a season 1 episode. Let's see. There's not really many other ones. I think I wanted to pick like a good variety of like different eras. You get a lot of season 4 and season 5 here. So it's just like season 4, season 3, season 2, then season 5, season 4, season 4, season 3, 4, 4, 1, 5, 5. That's 4, 2, 3. That is 3, 4. The Game Boy Color episode, I don't know why that was always like one that I was like, that's a good episode. I don't know why that one. I haven't watched it in a while, but I've always been proud of that one. And then that's 2. So yeah, I mean, like it's a general variety. Not a lot of season 1, but it's also like, you know, it is season 1. Have you seen Scott the Woz season 1 lately? Ew. And then fundraising. So, yeah, all the charity stuff we've done, specifically with Pixel Empire. Wozniak frequently offers limited edition merchandise based on the show during Merchandise for Charity Bonanza events, with all proceeds going to charities Critical Care Comics and the Children's Miracle Network hospitals. As of 2023, the fundraisers have collectively raised over $1 million for the two charities. That is true. That is pretty amazing. I've been burnt out for a while because these things always take a lot of time and a lot of money to fund these products. I've kind of felt like making products for charity is like one of the easier ways to get people to donate, because you know you get a product and the proceeds go to charity. At the same time, it costs a lot of money on my end to produce a lot of this stuff, and it costed a lot of money on the Pixel Empire's end to do a lot of this stuff. But hey, it raised $1 million, which is pretty nuts. That is like unfathomable number kind of thing. That's insane. So seriously, thank you so much. The events feature items such as t-shirts and posters, as well as unique products every year, including products such as VHS releases of The Internet and You, and a behind-the-scenes art book. So that's Scott the Woz Archives. There's also the Mysterious Game of Crypticism, and the return of the Mysterious Game of Crypticism, and the trading cards. The trading cards might be like one of my favorite things I've ever produced. I'm really proud of those. Those are so dang cool. But then we have on November 26, 2021, Wozniak announced Monopoly Scott the Woz Edition, an officially licensed version of the Monopoly board game based on the Scott the Woz series. The product, produced in limited quantities, was sold via the Pixel Empire website as part of the charity fundraiser. In December 2022, he announced Clue Scott the Woz Edition, a version of Clue based on the show. Yeah, I mean, like, that's just a pretty, like, simplified way to talk about that, but to be fair, I don't know what else you'd say. Yeah, that's still, like, one of the coolest things done, is the fact that, like, yeah, we have Monopoly, we have Clue. I'd love to do more USAopoly stuff. So, like, they also do the Game of Life, and Yahtzee, Candyland. Yeah, I could probably come up with some bullshit to do with that. We do have the Candy Games episode of Scott the Woz, but it's also like how likely is anybody actually going to want to buy a Candyland Scott the Woz edition based on just this basic ass Halloween special? At least with Clue, like it was too perfect not to do, because it was like full, like it just made sense to do that based on like the Great Mysteries of Gaming. But at the same time, like, you know, I think that almost made it way more niche. In addition to the fact that Clue is nicher than Monopoly. So yeah, I feel like it would probably be the safest bet to do like Monopoly Scott the Woz Edition, 2nd edition, or something like that. Because like they've done that with other brands. So like it would be cool to do something like that. But, you know, hey, those cost a lot of money to make. All right, and then we go to reception. This is going to be scary. We'll see what people say about me and my show, my silly little show. Reception. Scott the Woz has received a generally positive reception from critics and writers. Wow, generally positive. That's like, they're okay with him. A 2020 listicle from Innovation and Tech Today's Anthony Elio named Scott the Woz as one of the 5 best YouTube channels for gamers. Thank you very much. And Florian, I'm very sorry, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that last name of, I'm not great with French, so that called Wozniak his favorite YouTuber. Again, thank you so much. The series has been praised for its humor and writing. That's nice. That's cool. Described by Screen Rant's Pio Nepo Musino. I'm so damn sorry. As zany, off-kilter, and outlandish, in a ranking of the series' best episodes. That's super cool. Let's look at the series' best episodes. Wow, it's a whole ass article. This was in 2021, so it might be a little outdated. But Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, that's more of like just a really in-depth one. Console gaming on the go, that's good. When I say in-depth, I mean like that's very much like just me talking my ass off about a game. This one is just kind of a goofy little gaff. Midnight Releases, that's interesting as one of the best ones. Personal Trainer Cooking, that's also very interesting. The Trial, yeah, that's a big boy. That's a big boy. I'm proud of the comedy writing in that one. Game Show Games, that's pretty good. I feel like that's a little too fast. Sometimes I feel like in the moment when I'm editing an episode, I think like, oh, I'll make this really fast paced. For like just, oh man, it has to be fast paced to be good. And then like I look back at it like a year later, I'm like, damn, that was a little too fast. Shovelware Variety Hour Round 3. Okay, yeah, sure. I barely remember so much about like some of these. I have to rewatch some of them because like I've done so many of these at this point. Mario Party 1, alrighty. Chibi Robo Ziplash. Borderline Forever, okay. Well, thank you very much. That roughly makes sense in terms of like a lot of like what I notice or like what I think are like some of the bigger boy projects and episodes. So that's really cool that an official article is out there on Screen Rant. So thank you. Viewing Scott the Woz for PC Games, Lucas Schmid hailed the series' comedic script as perfect, my lord, writing that no cuts feel pointless and that running gags are established without overuse. Schmid, however, noted repetitive lines, commenting that statements are sometimes repeated word for word only 3 sentences later, but admitted that this might make the videos easier to follow. Yeah, I feel like that's kind of been a major problem of mine, is just kind of going like like, oh, I have to make sure any viewer understands what I'm saying. That's something I've been a little more conscious of lately, is like, I just want to write something that is good. I feel like good writing doesn't need constant repetition. So it's just like, if you just want to be more cognizant of like, hey, I want to write this line well enough so then anybody can look at this and understand what I'm saying. You want to respect the viewer's intelligence. You don't want to repeat things too much, because then it's just kind of like, come on, man. Like they get it. They get it. Just respect their intelligence enough to understand. Like they'll understand it. It's interesting. Okay. I understand. Comedic script is perfect. Well, thank you very much. Sometimes, like, obviously, I think my sense of humor has, like, evolved. Whether that's for better or for worse, you can be the judge. That's up to you. That's completely up to your own taste. But I appreciate the comedic script as being perfect. That is untrue, but thank you. But yes, I do think the repetitive lines were definitely issues in the past. They still definitely can be issues these days, but it is something I am aware of, that I'm like, I want to make sure that, like, I don't do that, and I still will do it, but I want to make sure that, like, I want to improve my writing, so then, I don't need to do that, but still make the episodes accessible to people. Kennedy Unthank from Plugged In called it a fun and entertaining show, but voiced a disliking towards the script's unsuitability for children. He criticized crude jokes such as the referral of condoms as a college essential, and disapproved of the use of swearing. Whilst words such as fuck and shit are censored, he noticed that others such as dick and bitch are not. Okay, so, understandable. But I've never marketed the show towards kids. So that's why I use swear words. And, that's why I've used, like, cruder jokes in the past. I've definitely eased up on some things. Usually, like, when, I do, like, a special about a running gag, that's kind of like a swan song for the running gag, and I don't really do much with it anymore, because I'm kind of like, there's not much else I can really say or do with it. Donkey Kong Barrel Blast was kind of like the curtain call for, like, virgin jokes and whatnot, and, like, ever since then I've kind of, like, eased up on, like, sex jokes, because at some point, like, I just kind of feel like it's just an easy joke to make, like, just call myself a virgin, a little self-deprecating humor, and I'm just kind of like, all right, I'm just gonna really push this in this final one, and then we're good. That's the same with, like, Madden 08 and, the Blue Border, or Chibi Robo Ziplash, and, I'll still, like, bring back those jokes, but it's, those things are usually kind of a swan song. So I feel like in the past couple years, I've definitely eased up on, like, sex jokes. I do use swear words, but to be fair, I'm not marketing my show towards kids. It's just kind of like kids watch a lot of YouTube, so they just kind of end up watching a lot of channels like this. So I'm very sorry about that. But for me personally, the way I see it is, I censor words like fucking shit, because those have always been censored for me on, like, TV, and I find those words to be funniest when censored. And I like to just remain consistent. Dick and bitch are a little tricky. Sometimes I censor dick, sometimes I censor cock. It's just, sometimes I'm not sure. I'm not sure if those are censored words on TV sometimes. Bitch is not a censored word on TV, so I use bitch a lot. But, I understand, but that's my perspective on like, the show was never meant for kids. But kids end up watching a lot of video game videos on YouTube. So, like, I always want to be mindful of that. But at the same time, like, I want to write what I want to write. And, the show I want to write involves swear words sometimes. So that's just my perspective. The series' characters and universe have also received positive reception, having been called absurd or surreal. Is that positive? Schmid called the cast of Wozniak and his friends fast-paced and funny, and particularly praised Wozniak's fictional portrayal of himself as an exaggerated character that still remains authentic. Well, thank you. That's usually what I like to do. It's kind of hard because, especially when you look at other video game, like, reviewer shows and all that, the line between the character and the person is often very confusing because sometimes like, you know, you break character and you're just your actual person, and then other times you're a character. You look at like Angry Video Game Nerd, for example. Sometimes it's just flat out James. Sometimes it's flat out, you know, the Angry Video Game Nerd. And I feel like that's definitely the case here. That it's just kind of the weird thing about being more of a character and having more of, in quotes, a show rather than like just be, I'm gonna make a YouTube video. Hey gamers, let's talk about this. I think it's tricky because like the show follows, in quotes. I use in quotes because I know it's dumb as hell. It's a video game show. It's a video game video on YouTube. Why do you need a canon? But I do have like certain rules of the show that are loose rules that I like to follow. I don't like to refer to it as like a YouTube channel in the actual episodes because I think it does make the show unique, and I do like that. You know, I feel like everywhere else on YouTube, everybody else refers to their YouTube channel and their YouTube videos and tells you to subscribe, or like shows like the YouTube channel and just goes like, I made a video like this years ago and like blah, blah, blah. You know, I will refer to stuff as like, I talked about this years ago, but I don't like to say I made a video about this or blah, blah, blah. I've referred to the Scott the Woz show in the show itself before, but I don't really like to do that these days. I did that back in like season 1 more, maybe season 2, but I think by like season 3, season 4, I was like, nah, this is kind of the vibe of the show. I kind of like it like Scott's talking to the camera and it just refers to the audience, but it's also like doesn't refer to the YouTube channel. So it's kind of like this weird bubble the show lives in, and I like that. I think it makes it kind of a nice thing to just like escape to. I think it makes it like an enjoyable thing where it's kind of in its own little world, and you can kind of escape from the real world with it a little easier, I think. But yeah, it gets a little tricky when like, you know, I have like the Scott the Woz character can be like more crazy, but it's also like I like to talk about like childhood memories and stuff, and also like my actual opinions. Like everything I say is my actual opinion, but a lot of times I will exaggerate things and I will make things like more of a joke where I'm like F this game. Do I really think that? I don't really care. But you know, if I dig deep in my core, I'm gonna be like, yeah, I do think like I don't like this game. But in reality, I look at something, I'm like, I don't care about this game. Unthink positively noted Wozniak's research and detail on covered topics. Opining, that's some form of the word opinion I don't know how to pronounce. That even episodes surpassing an hour in length still maintain a genuine and fair review. Thank you. That's something I usually try to be, is I always like to see things from like, when I'm writing, when I'm talking in person, like I just recorded a Scott Stash discussion ranking Nintendo franchises where I'm just like, who gives a damn about this one? I just like to be like a little like that sometimes, but when I'm writing, you know, I really want to make sure that like, you know, hey, like, let's be fair here. Like, people like this franchise, so it's just like, it's not that it's bad. It's just more so like, I just don't give a shit. So it's just like, it's probably more so me than it is the game here. They wrote that the best episodes of Scott the Woz are those that combine his reviews, retrospectives, and skits. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's usually like the big boy episodes. So like, yeah, you know, I understand that. Like I said, like that's something I've been trying to like evolve a little better. Because I felt like, you know, I did everything I really could with like, let's say like the Dark Age of Nintendo format or the Great Mysteries of Gaming format. And I feel like I kind of ran those into the ground. So I'm kind of like, let's just try to make sure I can do, you know, involve the characters and involve like skits, you know, in quotes, in unique ways. And that's something I've, you know, wanted to do rather than just keep doing the same thing over and over again. Comparing the series' 2017 review of Super Mario 3D World to its 2023 re-review, they said that the 2023 review does well in incorporating jokes to the more serious 2017 analysis, which was similar to a formal game review. Yeah, Season 1 and even Season 2, like, some of those episodes only have, like, 5 jokes in them, and that's stretching it. A lot of times, like, it's just the way I'd say it, where, like, in Season 1, I'd be like, Super Mario 3D World is a humdinger of a video game, and that would be kind of like my that would be my joke of the video. Ooh. Or like these days, I think I go a little too far with jokes where like I was rewatching an episode and I'm like, man, this doesn't stop. So like I kind of want to do a good balance of like, yeah, like I'll talk about video games in an episode that constitutes me talking about video games, and balance it a little more where it's like I don't need a joke every other sentence. But sometimes I kind of feel like, since if it's been a while since the last episode, or if I feel like I really need to make this next one really good, I kind of feel the need to like sit there and like really make sure that a script has like a good amount of like clever jokes in it or clever writing. I kind of need to be a little more like, you know what, Scott, just chill out, man. Wozniak received criticism for his segment in the episode Nintendo Switch 5 Years In which he criticized Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania's use of the Unity game engine. I'm sorry. I am not a game developer, and I decided to act like I knew what the hell I was talking about there. So I saw somebody like tweet out that that clip of that episode and say like that it was stupid. And I like to own up to my mistakes there. I like to be like, yeah, it was stupid. I'm sorry. And that was the end of that. There's a source for that? What is this article? It's like some like Japanese article that's like talking about this. Okay. The Scott the Woz YouTube channel has amassed over 1.87 million subscribers as of November 2023, and its popularity has been noted by writers. John Connor Colston, writing for popculture.com, described the fan base as a huge online following and attributed the series' popularity to its comedic yet earnest style produced in a unique homemade manner. Schmidt describes the show's style as simple, though with much effort put into tiny side gags, and praised the series' lack of sponsorships. So thank you very much. That was very, very nice. There was a couple little notes in the reception that I'm like, that's fair. But it was overall like a little too nice. So I appreciate it. That's roughly the whole Wikipedia article. There is Scott the Woz on IMDb, which is a whole other can of worms. We can look at that. That's some funky stuff right there. But yeah, overall, like, saying like produced in a unique homemade manner, I really appreciate that. I'm always trying to like improve things and like learn new things and just get better at like using like cameras and just get better at like different good camera angles and try new things, just improve things. But I always like to maintain that like, hey, let's make sure this does feel like, hey, it's just me and my friends getting together and making a video when it's like a larger production. Nowadays, like, my friends are helping out a lot more with like the main Scott the Woz episodes, and eventually, like, I love for them to have more of like a hands-on focus on them. Right now, they all focus on Scott Stash content. They all help me with Scott Stash. Scott the Woz, they mainly help with like gameplay and like some stuff here and there, but it is something where like I really want to have them do more stuff with that. But man, it's hard to get my grubby little mitts off of that. But I feel like some YouTube videos do kind of lose a bit of that magic when you can tell like too many fingers are in the pudding, too many chefs are in the kitchen, and you get kind of like a little too much of like a corporate attitude. But there's nothing wrong with getting help. It's more so on like how you go about it, and if you get help in the wrong ways, I think that's the problem. But yeah, that's the Wikipedia page. For the most part, it's pretty on point. There's a couple small little details here and there. It'd be cooler if there was like more to it, but at the end of the day, I think the history of like everything I'm doing here is pretty much like all here. Like the main stuff you kind of need to know. But overall, like, it is a huge honor to have a Wikipedia page at this point. Thank you so much for building up the channel to the point where something like this is possible. Like I said, it's a huge honor, and hey, maybe next we'll take a look at the IMDb page, or God forbid, this is opening up a whole new can of worms.